Last week on Elevating Men.
So when you say that, okay, we're being narcissists, I could take that with a grain of salt and be like, yeah, I agree. We're selfish. We don't care about the woman's feelings. What I used to say, the number one rule was to run straight through them. I mean, like, I get it, right? And as you get older, you understand that's immature. And so you don't react to that so much. I don't know if it's so much about your emotions, but your emotions do drive you to make certain decisions. So I just want.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think for me, I had to take a step back, and I think this is what, to my brother Sam's point, we got to take a step back and stop generalizing. Look in the mirror, because we're projecting, as we've been talking about. Look in the mirror and fix self. I learned.
What is up? What is up? What's up? What's going on? This is A.L. Johnson with Elevating Men. We've got a show for you tonight. And so if you've been watching us for the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about the common misconceptions between male and female emotions. Man, look, so I got to get this out. I was sick, right? And so I wasn't able to be on. I had to go back, listen to the shows, and man, they were having some serious conversations. So if you missed it, you can go to YouTube at Elevating Men. There's been 3 shows on this topic. It's gone all over the place. But the reason that we started the conversation is because at Elevating Men, we talk about men's mental health. And one of the things that affects our mental health the most is what we receive through communication, specifically from our women, because we love y'all. We love y'all. We can't live without y'all. We can't build a family. We can't build a legacy without you. And so when men and women are at odds, it creates strife in the home and it spills over into our communities. And so one thing that I've been doing lately is reading a little bit. You know, I always got a little book or something to share with you. And so there's this one called Love and Respect by Dr. Emerson Eggerichs. One of the things that he says is that men we desperately need respect. Women need love. And so it forms the way that we communicate. The way that we want to be treated forms the way we communicate, but it also forms the way that we perceive others. And so if you're not really understanding what a person is saying or where they're coming from, you're likely to react in a certain way that creates the strife and the turmoil that we see in relationships. There's another one, if you remember from back in the day. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. It's just saying we're from 2 different planets, speaking 2 different languages, and it creates issues unless we understand that. And so before we get started, really quick, below me, we've got a very special guest, very, very special guest. She has never been on Elevated Men before. So if you're on there, give her a warm welcome, give her a like, give her a heart, thumbs up, all that. Miss Chandra Green, how you doing this evening?
Hi, how y'all doing? I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
We're excited to have you. For those of you who have never seen her before, she was one of the panelists at our mental health town hall. She did an excellent job blessing our audience with some good information that they could take and use in their lives to improve their mental health. Can you tell the people exactly what you do in the name of your business?
So I am the CEO, owner, head therapist, facilitator of Soul Mind LLC. And so I am a marriage and family therapist. And I also have a team. Hi, Rhonda. And I actually we work with different businesses as well to do like trauma training, capacity building, and DEI work. And we also go into the community and do some trainings and different events, public speaking workshops, all of the things like that. But our current thing is that we're working on a conference in the DR, the Dominican, for Black mental health professionals, and that's for next year in October, but registration is open. And so that's on my social media as well. So we really are we're more than just a therapeutic, like therapists. We're more than just therapists. I have a team comprised of coaches. It's like 10 of us. We're coaches, we're therapists, we're community workers, we're research developers, but we all work together to support our community in any way that we know how. So we contract with different organizations and agencies all the time to help assist in their journey to provide therapeutic support to their staff and their team as well. So we kind of just do a lot of different things.
Man, did y'all hear the resume? Did y'all hear the resume? Hold on, tell us real quick. What is your website? What's your website?
www.soulmine, SOULMINE
Mm-hmm.
.life, LIFE.
.life. So remember that, not .com, .life. So I'm gonna go ahead and
.life.
put
We
that
give
on the
life.
bottom of your screen. Soulmind.life. Check it out if you need any type of therapy services and everything else that she mentioned. But let's get into it really quick. I don't want to forget about you, Brother Sam, over there, diagonal to me. Brother Sam, he's been on for the last couple of weeks. He has a podcast of his own. Can you share that with us real quick?
Yeah. So my podcast is Talk to Me Delicately. It's a podcast where we have men and women get together and have conversations where men can ask questions of women that we feel generally don't get answered in depth or in a way that we kind of understand, and then we kind of go back the same way with the women. So that's essentially what it is. Talk to Me Delicately, and it's on YouTube.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for being on for the last couple of weeks. We appreciate your insight and your perspectives. Let's kick off the conversation. So, Ms. Chandra, this is your first time on here. You've got the knowledge that we don't have. You have the training. You got all of that. Can you break down just a little bit about this communication thing between men and women, how we see things differently, expect different things from each other, and how that communication or lack thereof can sometimes get in the way? What are your thoughts on that?
So I've had this conversation in a couple of circles, right? And what I'm finding is it creates more competition than it does partnership between men and women. I think because a lot of times we try to outdo each other's trauma. So we say like, who has it the worst, who had it the hardest, and all of that kind of stuff. Realizing that we both come from, and I'm speaking directly to like our Black men and women, but men and women in general, we both come from societies that implanted and ingrained different roles, thoughts, and ideals in our head. Like a little child cries until somebody tells it to stop crying, but all babies cry. So the moment that somebody says stop crying or starts saying suck it up, then their behavior starts to change because now they have to figure out how to deal with that in a different way. And so it becomes who can cry in society and who can't, right? And that boils down to if I can't cry, then I have to exercise my right to release this in a different way because it's going to come out. How it comes out is how I've been trained to allow it out. And so men don't cry, can't cry. Women, we can't, right? So that's how come now women are now emotional creatures and men are now not, right? So it have to be taught to use all of that.
You said something that was interesting there. You said, we were one way and now we're not. So do you believe that sometimes when we as a society move to one extreme, is it natural for us to pull the other direction? So when you say it was like, hey, men don't cry, but right.
Because we say you're taught don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. And then all of a sudden you get in a relationship with a woman who's like, I need to see some emotion from you. I need to see you cry. I need to see that you're human in our eyes. All right. So now it's like we gotta figure out what that middle ground looks like. So from our extremes, now it's like, okay, where's the balance? And I think that when we start having these communication conversations, it's really about acknowledging where each other comes from historically and in our familial relationships, because even some women, we don't show all of our emotions because of how we've been programmed. Some men may show more emotions than other men because they've had the freedom to do that. So when we start saying who has it, who does more and who does less or whatever, I don't think that's necessarily fair because we're not looking at the root cause of where all of this comes from to meet in the middle. So my conversation really has been, can you give me a partner instead of a fighter? Like we don't need to, how are we going to build vision together? Because if we have the same goal in our communication, then where I need to heal, then I need to work on that. Where you need to heal, you work on that. We're going to come together. We're going to work together on how that blends. So,
Love it, love it, love it. So we got a comment from Amber Lucretia. Thank you for supporting. We always appreciate having you tune in. She said we all have our own programming.
absolutely.
And definitely, Andrew, this is a conversation that we always have about the different languages people speak. And we ain't talking about English, French, Spanish, none of that. We're saying that two English-speaking people can be saying words that we should mean the same thing, but we interpret them differently based off of our life experiences. Can you speak a little bit to that?
No, I'm not saying anything after Chandra just spoke because she said it all.
Just shut the train down now.
Yeah, but yeah.
Don't do
So,
that.
you know, we're talking about inflection. We're talking about that competition. We're talking about me trying to tell you my pain in a different voice so that I don't necessarily relinquish all of my vulnerability. You know what I'm saying? So really, she does not know what I'm saying because I'm actually trying not to speak my truth while trying to speak my truth. I'm conflicted inside, you know. I'm speaking something that I don't even really know that I'm speaking because I'm trying to be somebody despite my pain. I'm trying to be somebody that's not my pain. I'm trying to be instead of being in my pain and telling her about it.
So let's get to the root of this. If you're in the comments, if you're listening right now, I need you to leave us a comment. I want to know your answer to this question. Have you ever had a relationship go bad because of poor communication? Ever? Like, have you ever had a relationship where, hey, everything started off good, things were great, and then all of a sudden you guys just aren't seeing eye to eye? You're trying to talk through it, but you guys are hearing two different things. Sam, you ever been there?
Yeah, I've been there. I've seen a whole bunch of people there too. It was like a cruise, like it was a whole island. Matter of fact, it was like a whole country full of people. So yeah, I've been there before.
So Maylene Sanders, thanks for tuning in. She's been there before too.
Everybody's been there, bro.
Breathe. She said she's been there too. Okay, so let me ask you this. If you've been there before, what was the breakdown in the communication? Because it seems like you're communicating well in the beginning. I love you. Oh, I love you too. Oh, you're beautiful. You're handsome. Like the communication is just like on point. You on the phone for hours. You can talk. You can communicate. But at some point, there's this breakdown, and it's like I don't know what you're talking about no more. I don't hear you. I don't hear you. It ain't clicking. Where does that come from? Drew, you had your hand?
So for me, it was when we both said I do. And
Oh,
yeah.
wait a minute. That's a bad time to stop being able to communicate.
Man, because the thing is I thought that when I asked her to do this, so forth and so on, she said, I don't do that. And when she asked me to do something, are you crazy? I don't do that. But we said I do. But there was a whole lot of things that we didn't do. Yeah. So that was the start for one.
Now, could it be that there's some conditioning? I'm coming to you on this, Chandra. Is there the conditioning that takes place? You spoke to that before. So when we come together, a lot of times we share our story, but we're sharing our story of past relationships, right? You know, the last girl, last lady, the last guy, this and that. But we never really get into those deep-rooted childhood traumas that can stick with us for the rest of our lives. And so how important is that in the beginning for that to be a part of the conversation and part of the things that you unpack as a couple?
When you think about why you really talking to somebody in the first place, it has nothing to do with if they wash their clothes or not. It has nothing to do with how they keep their home. It has nothing to do with their life goals and all that. It's attraction. And it's the hormones and the endorphins and all of that stuff that come from attraction, and we feed off of that because it's a good feeling and it's filling up a void that we've been wanting it to fill. And sometimes we get so deep into the attraction we're scared even to have those deeper conversations. We just feel like they'll work themselves out over time. So we don't take the time to dig in and really pay attention to who we're actually talking to. Like once you have that first,
Wait a minute. Chandra, I can't let you run past that, and I don't got my pen like I normally do. You just wait a minute. Wait, hold up. Listen, okay, all right. Listen. For one, if you're watching this, share this right now. Like, hurry up, share it real quick. Share it. Amber, look, I see all these comments coming in. Chandra, you just said something. Let me tell you what you said. You said that in the beginning we get so infatuated, we get so into each other that I don't even want to tell you about my trauma. Like we gotta slow down on that part right there. Wait a minute, Sam said, I don't know. Sam, did you agree or disagree? Real quick.
Oh, I'm trying to take all this in because like the way I see it is not like this. So really I'm just trying to like filter it in because there is no way you cannot communicate. And I do get that there is a honeymoon stage and the stage where everything they do is like storybookish because for one, that's how y'all set it up. But okay, that's neither here nor there. So of course you're gonna not know how they wash their clothes or whatever the negative stuff because everybody want to put their best foot forward, right? So I get all that. I don't understand why don't people get to the point they can go through that little phase and then look at things rationally and then get those answers to those questions before I do. Because like I said, there is no way you cannot communicate. Matter of fact, most communication is nonverbal. So I don't understand how people are navigating, but I'm listening so that way I can understand. So then that way I can kind of make the translation of solution because that sounds like a bunch of confusion to me.
Oh, wait. Okay, we getting to it. Chandra, I'm coming right back to you. I apologize for interrupting. It's just you said something that was so important to this conversation. But we got a bunch of people watching. We got a bunch of people commenting. We appreciate each and every one of you. I'm gonna run through these real quick. Rhonda Hall, she said, Rhonda, you're supposed to be on the show. I don't know if you didn't get the link, but if you can, reach out to Lauren because we need your opinion too. You've been adding a lot of value in the comment section. People get comfortable and consideration starts going down the drain. Sometimes tone changes too. Okay. Maylene Saunders, as soon as someone gets offended, the communication changes. All right. LaRon Barnes, LBZ, you need to follow him. He's a part of Elevated Men. We're about to get the Sunday motivational moments back going. We've both been busy, but it's happening. Trust me. Bree, she says most people were not taught how to communicate or express feelings in healthy ways. If y'all agreeing with any of this, go in the comment section and thumb them up. Let's see. Absolutely, I once dated a guy that would totally shut down, and it was time to tackle a major issue. He literally didn't want to talk, just preferred to be talked to, but didn't talk back. I had to peace out. Such a shame. He was so doggone fine. Oh man. Okay. Molly Sanders, Sandra is correct. She said that you are correct. So I'm going to give you the floor, ma'am. I'm going to take our ugly faces off the screen. Go ahead and finish your thought.
You're not ugly. Listen, I agree with Sam. Like I was getting to that point because but when we originally meet somebody, it's either for those who don't date intentionally, let me say that, and even sometimes we date intentionally, but we end up trauma bonding with people. So we get stuck in what we have in common, and we don't necessarily look deeper into what else is there about this person. And so yes, I agree. And believe it or not, this is communicating. It might not be the healthiest way to communicate because you cannot not communicate. As Sam said, that's absolutely true. Me looking you in your eyes, communication, right? So even if it's not healthy or the communication that we're looking for, it's still communicating. We're just not communicating at a level that will be productive in an actual relationship. But it is absolutely great for a situationship, right? It is absolutely great to take us as far as it can take us. But if you're talking about actually connecting to somebody, you have to pay attention to how they react when they get offended. You have to pay attention to how they act when they get around their friends. You have to pay attention to different things. You have to start digging a little deeper and having those conversations. But because we weren't taught, as Bree said, we weren't taught to have these deeper conversations, not all of us, we're taught. And then and then we think about unequally yoked, sometimes it's spiritual. And sometimes it's really, can we vibe on the same level? Not that my level is better than yours, but can we communicate in a way where it's healthy for our relationship to thrive, for this to move forward. But we have to actually hit those pain points and see if we're compatible, even in how we deal with confrontation and all of those different things. But we don't take the time to do those things. We don't ask, are you in debt? How much debt? Can I take on that debt? Or what do you do for a living, and how does that move? Like, some people, I've had people sit in my office and they haven't moved past the hello stage, and they're thinking about marriage.
Yeah.
So when I start
Wow.
asking those deeper questions, it becomes that shock for them. And I'm not talking about people who's only been dating for 6 months. I'm talking about people who got years in their pocket, right? So
Yeah,
we just
LeBron, he said that's true. People get caught up more on what they have in common than what is actually beneficial to their souls. Maylene, she was feeling you. She said that is so good in all caps. Drew.
Yeah. So Sam says something about the fairy tale book or something like that, and Chandra had talked about the honeymoon phase and all that sort of stuff. Not honeymoon phase. She says the whether you're dating intentionally or not, and if a person, because you dropped that trauma bonding thing in there and gloss past it. A lot of people don't even recognize that they are in trauma or traumatized or about to unload their trauma onto somebody, such as myself. Let me tell you this. So this guy, when I was trauma bonding, I'm looking for peace because there's nothing but chaos in here. So when I find that peace, that honeymoon phase, that fairy tale, that's all I want to take place, because this is chaos. This is madness. I don't want this to take place. So when this starts to rise up or buttons are pushed, she might not see me that day. Because we're still dating. We don't live together. We don't cohabitate. But she might not see me that day. Or even if we're living together, she might not see much of me that day. I'm somewhere else because I don't want her to see this ugliest part of me, because I don't want to lose my peace.
Look, listen. So I've been reading this book. Can y'all see that right? All About Love, Bell Hooks, right? Man, I'm gonna read this real quick. It says, so many seekers after love are taught in childhood to feel unworthy, that nobody can love them as they really are, and they construct a false self. In adult life, they meet people who fall in love with their false self, but this love does not last. At some point, glimpses of the real self emerge and disappointment comes. Rejected by their chosen love, the message received in childhood is confirmed. Nobody could love them as they really are. So I want to tie this together to a comment in the comment section. Maylene Sanders says, as soon as someone gets offended, the communication changes. So let's kind of play this all out. You're in a relationship. Your inner child feels unworthy. The person that you are falling in love with, you don't want them to see your flaws. So there goes the lack of communication that you talked about. Now, we ain't going to talk about credit. We ain't talking about debt. We ain't talking about my bad habits. I'm going to hide that for as long as I can. But then at some point, glimpses of the real self emerges. So now when the person who's observing this makes a comment about it, as Maylene says, someone gets offended. Like, hold on. You see something in me that I ain't show you. You prying too deep. I don't like it. So now I'm just asking, could that be where the real miscommunication starts? If you heard my whole little rant right there, if you agree with me, put a yes. If you don't, put a no. And let's talk about that. Sam, what do you feel?
Well, so like the caption that you read, I don't believe that's love. Like love doesn't start when things are going good. Like it's easy to love somebody when things going good. Love does start, or primarily starts, when things aren't going right. So the thing is, everybody has trauma. Like, come on, especially if we talk about Black people, we all got post-traumatic disorder. Like, come on, we all got trauma. Let's take that out. We all got childhood trauma because all our parents wasn't perfect. Sometimes all our parents wasn't there. A lot of these parents did the best with what they had in the situation they was in. They weren't able to give us what they wanted, and for whatever reason, it created a deficit as a child. And then you grow up as an adult, and for some reason, your current is attached to your past, which I understand. But at some point, you have to take accountability of your own situation and start working on it. Because sure, if I step on your toe, you're going to say, ouch, whether it's on purpose or not, and then you're going to feel offended. And it's like a bunch of children don't know how to get along with one another because everybody is in their own pain and in their own feelings. I'm not saying that is right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm saying that's the dynamic. So then we have to have these conversations. Now, for me, I'm talking about for me personally, if I'm going into a relationship, or when I'm going into a relationship, or when I'm in the relationship, I know that I'm learning this person past the good stuff that I like them or lust for them over, because, hey, that's what have me initially attached to you. Now, let's see if I can deal with your childhood traumas or your lack of, because if I grew up in a two-parent household and you didn't grow up in a two-parent household, I need to know, were you raised on love or were you raised on survival? If you were raised on survival and I was raised on love, that don't mean I have to go find somebody that was raised like me. That means I know I have to have a level of patience for you that you don't understand. And so consequently, I build an environment for you to be able to flourish and learn and grow in and bump your head and make mistakes and be upset and all that in. And then I love you through that as you're trying to learn yourself and love yourself through that. I just think that that's how it works. Does it work all the time? No, it doesn't. But that is the process in which you go through. So everybody don't have to be so offended. You create the environment, because we all know what trauma look like and what we need to get out of it. We need validation, so that way we can get clarity, so we can love ourselves to the point we can love someone else. That's the purpose of relationship.
Work through it. That's what I'm talking about. So we had James Drew here. Really quick, he is the pastor of Peace and Fellowship Church in KCK. So definitely reach out to him, follow him. I've attended the service. I can vouch for it. It is amazing. It's amazing. But he said communication is always a growing process in a relationship, and adjustments have to be made along the way. Absolutely true. Amber Lucretia, I love this. I enjoy these conversations, but at the same time, when we speak about our lack, I have to give us grace. We were never taught how to be good communicators, how to be great partners, how to honor our own pain, let alone be open enough to share. So much comes from what we simply just didn't know. We have the information now, and our kids will not suffer the same. I love that.
See,
I want to
I
say
don't
this
agree with
for a
that,
quick
because
second. I want to.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I don't.
No, you're good.
Not that I don't agree with her feelings. I don't agree that it's like one extreme to the other, because especially men, this is what men get tricked on all the time, is we see y'all do these things in other areas in your life, like your job, your girlfriends, and things like that. But then when it come to us, then it's this big, we're speaking French and we're speaking Swahili. Like, what the heck is going on? Like, really, it only boils down to two things. Men want to be respected, they want you to respect their mind, and women want to be loved because they want to be cared for and they want their emotions to be validated. Now, does that mean that they don't have each other? Do men have emotions? Yeah, of course men got emotions and all that. And sure, women got logic, but that's their primary, that's their proclivity, and that's what their priority is. Like, so I don't understand. We know how to do these things in a bunch of different areas in life to get what we want. But then when it comes to relationships, we got this big discord, but people don't understand.
Well, does anybody in the comment section, if you feeling what this brother just said, because he let us know what it is, saying black. So if you agree, drop a yes in the comments. I agree. I don't agree. Let's have the conversation. This is important. Chancellor.
I agree with you, Sam. I think the thing is that yes, this can be done at work, and it can be done everywhere else you go. There is a level of protection at work. People don't get to see your innermost thoughts, your innermost being, or get so personal. Like, you let people get as close as you have to allow them to be for the paycheck, you know. But if they really got to know you, a lot of us probably wouldn't even have the jobs that we got, to be honest. But the other part about that too, is, and this goes both ways, like, how do we create a safe space, which is what you were saying, for our partner to grow? I think a lot of times we look for people to love us how we want to be loved versus learning how they need to be loved and providing that space for them to do that. The thing is that everybody just does not have the, I don't want to say they don't have the ability, because I think we have the ability. We have to know how to do that. Like, we have to be told, a lot of us, because everybody's not on the same level. Everybody doesn't have the same background. So what may come easy to one of us doesn't come easy to everybody else. So yes, it sounds like it should just be that simple. Like, we should just be able to just provide space for everybody. But if I've never been taught how to provide a safe space, or I never learned how to deal with my own stuff, then I'm going to bleed that on to the person that's closest to me. That's how come abusive relationships happen, not necessarily abusive work relationships, right? Like, if I don't, because you're too close to me, you see too much of me, I'm showing you too much, so I have to trust you more than I have to trust my coworker. I have to be able to have you in my space more than I have to be able to have my coworker in my space. And so when if you see me cry and you throw that back in my face, then that means I can't cry around you no more. Right?
Mm.
So now what I'm gonna do with that? That's interrupted our communication right there. You are no longer a safe space for me at all. Right?
So let
So
me,
we have
I'm
to
going to throw,
learn each other and take the time to do that. And the truth
wow.
is, everybody's just not there. Everybody just don't know how to do that.
So let me ask this. All right.
Don't go
So,
off past that, Andrew. Don't go off past that.
oh, no. We stand in the same spot.
Okay.
There's one sentence that I want to throw into the mix of this conversation. All right. A soul connection is a resonance between two people who respond to the essential beauty of each other's individual natures behind their facades and who connect on a deeper level. And it started off with saying soul connection. Could it be that there are too many people who are trying to force a square into a round hole, and they just really don't even like each other enough to, be able to break down these walls or listen or be empathetic? Because we're in this culture where it's like, date everybody, date, right? But when there's no real soul connection, you have no incentive to really go past the facade. That's my opinion. What do you all say to that?
Lauren, give Amber Lucretia the link.
Yeah, because Rhonda, she said, once you use my vulnerability against me, the wall comes up. And what I'm kind of wondering is, if a man really loves you and he has a soul connection with you and he's trying to grow, is he really gonna take that and throw stones at you, or is that an indication of something else?
Let me make a comment, because Sam Black, you talked about creating a safe space, and the way that I interpreted that said that after she has revealed something that needs a safe space, meaning this is now a reaction to something that is now being revealed. Now I have to create this safe space for you to understand that it's okay for you to learn that I love you. Not for us to deal with whatever triggered you. Not saying that won't trigger you again, but now you're in a safe space. So this can keep going on as long as you know that you're in this safe space. The reason that I said it like that is because what I interpreted Chandra as saying is, I'm not trying to necessarily show you that trauma for you to even create this safe space. That trauma slipped out, and now we have to deal with it. So we're now reacting to something that I was always hiding. And we haven't even dealt with the safe space keeper. He's just keeping a safe space. We haven't even dealt with why he keeps this safe space. Because if we get outside his safe space, then his trauma is going to spill over. And we haven't even talked about how we're going to deal with that.
Okay.
So wait, real quick. Let's greet our new participant here. She is not a stranger to Elevating Men. This is the owner of OCD Financial, Rhonda Hall. Thanks for tuning in. She's been dropping some serious nuggets in the comment section for the last few weeks. And so if you go back to our archives at YouTube, you can also check it out on the Facebook page of Elevating Men. You will see that she has been a big part of this conversation. And so I want to give her the floor for a second because she just entered in. Welcome. And what are you thinking about the show so far? What are your thoughts?
Thank you. Of course, I've enjoyed each one and each perspective. I think my views have just been kind of just, they come off probably the way they have, just because when we kind of we all know ourselves. So when I hear, you know, certain things, it just kind of throw up a flag at me is kind of where I, you know, chime in. And obviously there are things that I'm passionate about. So, you know, when you've had, you know, different interactions and experiences out there, you know, certain statements just kind of trigger you in a sense, if I can use that word. But I have enjoyed the show thoroughly in each perspective given.
Well, thank you. And again, that's OCD Financial. Is it OCDfinancial.com? I want to make sure I got your website right.
Yes, OCDfinancial.com.
Okay, so tell us the comment that's on the screen. You said once you use your vulnerability against me, the wall comes up. Can you speak to a situation where that's happening? You don't have to get too personal, but just help us understand that statement a little deeper.
Yeah, Chandra hit on that. And so she was just saying you can't, you know, if you share something with them and then they use it against you, you won't want to share again. And so I too have had those experiences where you share something personal, maybe in the beginning you're sharing something from a past experience, and then in the midst of a disagreement, maybe later on in the relationship, then they bring that up. You know, it could be even from a specific standpoint, it could be, well, maybe you deserved for them to say that to you. You know, they referenced something in the beginning. They had compassion for you when you shared it at the beginning because it was all about being in agreement with you. But then later on, when they're in disagreement with you, then they bring up those past things you shared and then throw that in your face, you know, and you're like, well, I didn't share that with you for you to do that. I shared that with you at a more vulnerable point then, and you were in agreement, but now you want to use it against me. So yeah.
Has anybody else ever felt that? Anybody else been through that on the panel or in the comment section where something was used against you? You had a transparent moment. Oh, Lauren said, don't be fronting, you know, go attack. Said, get it. But any of you that are watching, have you experienced that? How did it make you feel? You know, for you to open up at some point, then later on down the line, you get in an argument, and they like, your daddy issues is popping up, right? Talk to us about it. Sam, you had a comment that you wanted to have. I don't know if you lost it or not, but you have the floor.
It's just it's a few things. I mean, like, this is like the chat said, this is a great conversation. I do want to address what brother said about that safe space situation, but let me just hit that last situation you were just saying about getting stuff thrown in your face. Yeah, that happens all the time. Like, when you share things with people, sometimes when it comes up, it's germane to the situation. Now, what it boils down to is how you say it. That's when the tone and the face inflection and all that stuff comes into play. But what happens is people are scared to address those things. So as soon as it even comes up, it comes off as, oh, you're throwing it back in my face, because, you know, everybody use that term, you're throwing it back in my face. Now, I'm not talking about those that come in there that with malintent. I'm not talking about those. So that's why I need to clarify. Are we talking, is this the majority of people doing this? Or is this just like the extreme outliers to it? Because I'm not understanding that people are like, okay, cool, you're throwing this in my face as a malintended thing. Now, for those that don't have malintent, for example, let's say if I didn't grow up with my mother and I have some deficiencies because of that. And then later on, my girl says, hey, maybe because this, and the third, that might not be her throwing it in my face. That's her bringing up something so that way I can maybe see and grow in that situation. Now, so I can bridge it to what bro was saying about that safe space. Now, you don't know everyone's trauma, but you do know everyone does have trauma. So what do you base your love off of? Because people define love so many different ways. Me, I know what my love comes with is patience, kindness, long suffering, understanding, all those things. I have to work on those things for myself first in order for me to be able to give that to someone else. But it's not tested until I'm with someone else. So then that way, if my girl comes in tripping a certain kind of way, yes, I'm going to give her a safe space to bounce off all the walls she wants to, right? But I'm also, while she's bouncing off them walls, I'm bouncing with her like, babe, maybe we could do this like this. Babe, consider this. And I'll leave it alone and let her find her way or whatever. And I sit back and I can learn some things even about myself. Now, in the situation, out of the four corners of my boundaries that I have in the relationship that we've created, not that I created, that is all based on, for me, God, I'm talking about Jesus. So then I know if you're doing something outside of those boundaries, I'm not going to not love you, but I'm going to have my hands off of what you're doing. And then hopefully you don't do something so egregious that is outside of my love. Because I'm not God. God can love you unconditionally. I can love you as unconditionally as I can. And I definitely try that to the utmost. So
and that's about as real as it gets right there. I can't love you like God, but I can love you like me. And it's got boundaries. It's got limits. So I feel you. So I asked the question, have you ever been in a situation where something that you shared, a moment of vulnerability with your significant other was thrown back in your face? Maylene Sanders, she said yes. Rhonda Carter said yes. Niecy Houston said yes. And so it's something that people are dealing with. What we're talking about is how we get to that point. And so I posed the question, does this have to do with maybe you're just with someone that you really don't even like that? Like, I want to stick with that for just a second, because how often do we end up in relationships and love really isn't there? There really isn't a soul connection. And I believe if there is, this is my belief. Let me know what you think. In my belief, if there's a real soul connection there, you're going to be a little more tolerant. You're going to be more long suffering. You're going to be more lenient. You're going to seek to understand. You're not going to be easily offended because you want to keep the relationship. You want to work through things. Not saying that you want to get ran over or you're going to let whatever happens happen, but you're going to have a little more leniency and long suffering and patience with someone that you really have a soul connection with versus somebody that you just randomly date. And it's like, hey, one red flag, I'm out. So what are your thoughts on that? Let me know.
I think the word love is the definition of everything that comes with it in itself. Love is patience. Love is kind. Love is long suffering. So that's why you're going to have it when you are truly in love with the person. Love is a choice. You're choosing to. I think that your actions are different when you are choosing to love someone because you want it to work. So then you try to have more communication. You try to be more patient. It's evident. And it's questionable when you don't have the patience for those things and you just give up and you just throw a person away right out the gate without trying to work things out. You have to question, was their love present in the first place?
That's what I'm saying. What do you think, Chandra? I want to hear from another lady real quick. What do you think on that?
I agree. I also think that when we go back to what is your capacity to love, some people, once they start, and again, it's like depending on the audience, depending on who we're talking about, right? So if we're talking about people who operate in a more I want to say healed space or whatever, then yeah, they probably can verbalize this a little bit better. But some of us are scared of our own feelings, and so if we feel like we're getting too close, like we want a connection, but we don't know how to have a connection. So as soon as that connection happens, and this is where the unhealed trauma happens, because yes, we all have experienced trauma, but I might push you away because now you're too close and it's uncomfortable for me and I don't know how to do it. So yes, yeah, I mean, if you love covers a multitude of faults, right? So yes, we tend to try a lot more, but also sometimes some of us, because we haven't dealt with a lot of things, we don't know how to be in that space. So we become a very unhealthy attachment, so to speak, where we're doing this push pull thing. Like I want you close, but I don't know how to have you close. I'm gonna keep pushing you away, or wait, you're moving too fast for me, so let me slow it down, or I got to keep you at arm's length until I figure out what I want. So, and I think, but sometimes we jump to oh, they just don't love me, but we don't ever give the space and grace to say, oh, they may not know how to love me as well, because that they just don't know me thing can start feeding into some people's insecurities. Not everybody's, but some people's insecurities, like the whole "what did I do" and "oh, what's wrong with me" type stuff or whatever. We get into that, but and no, right. I'm looking at the comments. Nobody is ever fully healed. Your version of heal or healing, but knowing how to even go on that journey is a big part of how you're able to communicate with people. Just acknowledging the fact that I have some things that I need to work on, because some of us won't even acknowledge that. Some of us feel like we're perfect in our space, but some of us are like, I got things that I need to work on. So
Now let me ask something. All right, so we talk about this thing with fathers. Like you grow up without a dad, and it's like, well, you don't know how to be a dad because you didn't have a dad. And one thing that we preach at Elevating Men when it comes to that specific situation is that you can seek to be what you didn't have through the golden rule, which is treat others the way you would want them to be treated. And so if you didn't have a father, you know how that felt. You know the things that you wanted and possibly needed, and so you work towards that. You may not get it perfect, but you have somewhat of a model of what to work towards based off of how you felt and trying to create a positive atmosphere for your children. So when it comes to relationships and love, I guess my question is, can we use that same principle to better understand our partners and have better communication? Because although, you know, what I want and I need at a basic level is understanding. Now, how that understanding comes across, okay, we can figure out the language barrier between the two of us, but at the heart of it, I want the same things. And so if I love and respect you, I feel like that would shape the way that I communicate with you and the way that I act with you. Am I wrong? Am I missing it?
I wouldn't say you're missing it. That's a way. Like what you say, you can strive to get what you didn't have. And one of the points I did want to bring up is, if you grew up with a father that showed long suffering, patience, all those things, you have a baseline and a foundation of what it looked like, right? But if you didn't grow up with that, you don't know what it looked like, so you kind of searching for it. That doesn't mean you can't find it, because like I grew up with my father and my mom, and I was able to see what real love looks like, right? But my dad didn't grow up with his dad, and his motivation was to give me what he didn't have in that sense, the best way that he can. And there's some deficiencies there, like maybe he didn't hug me or tell me he was proud of me, or until like way later, until we are adults, and I'm pushing the issue because I understand he didn't have that as a father. So I bridge that gap. So when I get to my son, I don't have to overly do it, but I will do it because my dad didn't get that, but I did get that, right? So that does play a great part in it. Now, the thing is, love is a thing, is like I said, once again, how are we defining love? Because people are having these saying, okay, well, if you have long sufferance, patience, kindness, and all this other stuff, then why are you guys getting so offended when things are happening? The reason why is because women are speaking with prioritizing emotion. Men are trying to speak from prioritized logic. So since we're not having a meeting of the minds, we're taking it personal and we're going into our neutral corners and we're trying to figure it out. What we have to do, and as men, what I had to do, because I was trying to figure this out for the life of me, we have to, as a man, you have to learn how to read between the lines. I'm sorry. Women aren't going to sit there and tell you logically what it is. You can tell her something logically, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. But once you go tell her girlfriend what you said, it's not going to be the way you said it to her.
Oh, wait a minute. Bro, wait, Sam, wait, put your gun up, bro. Hey, hold up, man.
That's a generalization. That's not
true. Hold on.
This is what we was looking for. Hold on one sec. Now, I'm gonna let y'all go. I'm gonna let y'all go real quick. I never want to ignore our audience because they are keeping the comment section lit up. So I appreciate everyone that's tuning in. If you haven't already, share this with your network, share it with your people so you can replay it tomorrow, replay it tonight, have the conversation with us. All right. So real quick, Sam, if we could just let Rhonda respond and then you can come back. Real quick, Re-Embodied Mind of Mine, I want to shout him out. You've probably seen him on the podcast. It's Big Unk. He's been on for the last several weeks. He's always bringing value. Thanks for being in the comment section. Marlene, I'm just going to read this one because it said that she agreed with me. No. Maylene, I agree with AL and Chandra. If you're in the right relationship, you'll not bring up things shared in a vulnerable conversation. Lojo speaks. He said, I'm perfect. Man, you're a perfect partner. You're my brother. So yeah, for sure. DC Houston. I want a marriage that looks almost nothing like what I saw in the younger version of my parents. All that. Gosh, hold on. Amber Lucretia. Sam Black, how did your father show or example for you what real love looked like in your 2-parent household? Okay, so Rhonda, I just want you to respond to Sam. Sam, you can have the floor back. Miss
So multiple things, but I will just say that the first thing, Sam started to hit on the whole logical thing. So we know the logic versus the emotion. Again, when I say about things that stand out to me, it is because part of my experience have been that I am too logical. So that is why I can rebut with that. So when I hear statements, when I keep hearing that about men being logical, I don't see it. I have had the experience of men frustrated because I am a logical thinker, where you have those issues where you can have a situation, and this could be either way, but you can have a situation where a problem occurs and you have a reaction. But then you have one of the people in the relationship that only wants to deal with the reaction, but doesn't necessarily want to have a logical conversation and talk about what sparked the reaction to go back to the beginning. So that's when I think about having logical conversations and how I don't necessarily see this majority of men being this logical thinker versus women being so emotional, because women, to me, are the ones who are generally trying to get to the facts of saying, well, didn't this happen? Didn't this particular thing happen? Women are the ones who are chronological, asking the specific questions that men get frustrated about answering. So I don't necessarily see where women are the emotion and the men are logic. That's my point on that. And I could go on and on about that particular thing. But AL, when you were referencing about how when an individual grows up in a certain atmosphere, and is it one of the partner's responsibility, in a sense, if they love them in a sense, or they want the relationship, to try to deal with the other partner and how they grew up or how they were raised? Maybe you will have a little bit more patience in how that person is because you know how they were raised. But my only thing to that is, yes, you will have, you can try to have patience with them, knowing how they were raised, and maybe what they lacked is resulting in how they are as an adult. But at the same time, they have to be trying to change those aspects about themselves that are a result of how they were raised. If they're not trying to change it, and all they did was come to the table in expectation that someone's going to continue to accept them the way they are because of how they were raised or whatever impact, that is not fair to the other partner. You both have to be trying. Once you identify what your issue was, You have to be working on that, which then hits back to what Sam was saying last week about when we know who needs to be working, who out of men and women, who's the one who's doing the most work. We know that men should be doing the work, but the question was, who is doing the most work? And I don't necessarily see the majority of men being the one going to therapy trying to fix themselves or trying to change some of their childhood trauma, versus I see women who are sitting in therapy trying to work on themselves. So I struggled with that as well, as far as who's the most, who's working on themselves the most, not who should be, but who is doing the work.
Real quick, comment section, then I'm going to y'all. I'll see you. I promised I was going to go back to Sam, make a note of what you were going to say, Drew. I don't want you to forget because I know it's got value. And then Chandra, we got to hear from you. So real quick, we'll run through these. Shoot. Re-embodied mind of mine. He said, I've met a lot of logical women and they are so great. Robert Hawkins, thank you for tuning in, brother. We appreciate you. He always leaves value. He said, as a man, you need to communicate when there is not an issue, that we are a team. Whatever issues that come between us are the issues we need to discuss, not fight over. We are each other's team, each other's partner. We want the best for each other. That's right. We embody mind of mind. Women are not used to encountering a man that listens and retains. Men, same, don't often handle logical women well. I can't disagree with that. Coach G, he's a part of Elevating Men as well. Warrior Word, make sure that you follow him. Remember, don't generalize and lump everyone in one box. Our problem in society today is we've lost the insight of the individual. That's right. I got to go back to that. She put yes with, I can't even count the S's, a whole bunch of S's. So she agreed a whole lot. Gary Newsom, I completely disagree with that statement, Sister Rhonda. Hold on. Coach G, leave why you disagree in the comments, because we got to know exactly what you meant right there. Last comment that I'm coming to you, Sam, then you, Drew, then you, Chandra. And as far as functional household, even though my ex is parted ways and gone her way, raising my daughters was paramount to me, being a great example to them. Though there's disruption in the household, children have to have confidence they are still loved and protected by their father. I made sure, even as adults, even until their wedding day, dad was always going to be a foundation in the family, despite my ex's choices for her own life. Salute. All right. Sam Black, Mr. 68.2%. What's that about? What's the 68.2%? What's that?
You know, you are awesome host, because you like to pull things back together, which I was going to start with the 68.2, because Sis said she felt that was very generalized, right? And then there's also maybe a comment or two about that's very targeted or whatever. So y'all should understand this, sisters, since y'all the most educated in all this. When I say that 68.2, there's a bell curve. The bell curve, there is an outlier of people that will absolutely not do something. There's outliers of people that will absolutely do it without thought. And then there's a group of in the middle, that's the majority. Also, if you know from statistics, in the middle is the mean, standard deviations, whatever. That's getting a little bit more. But what I'm saying is the majority. I'm not talking about the women that are logical, because you can be logical as a woman. No one's saying you can't. You can even prioritize logic. But I promise you that you're not coming out the womb like that. You've been conditioned that way. Now, if you're asking, why do men have problems with that? Men have problems with that because, for one, men don't want to go back and forth logically like men do with each other, because, like I said last week, low-level threats of violence. Nowadays, women be all in your face. Women think they can whoop men. A lot of these women bigger than they men now, not to shame or nothing like that. So they feel like that they can step to a dude in that fashion. And so then a man might shut down because he don't want to fight his girl, because now the fight, flight, or freeze dynamic is involved now. So that's a whole nother conversation as far as communicating with each other. So with that being said, most women prioritize emotion and men prioritize logic. I'm sorry, that's biological. That might not be most of the women. Now, ask men. Are most of the women that you've dealt with, are they more emotional driven or prioritized, or are they more logical prioritized?
Yeah, put that in the comments. Put that in. I just got to piggyback. I put that in the comments. Are men or women more logical? Women more emotional? Men more logical? Do you believe that, or do we just be saying something?
No,
Are
see,
we
I
all
don't like
conditioned?
more. It's not about more. It's about what do you prioritize? Because back to what the therapist said. Like, look, everybody making this a competition. Like, just like Rihanna just said, like, I see this, I see women doing this, and they going to counseling. Look, you don't have to go to counseling to put in the work. Matter of fact, going to counseling ain't necessarily putting in the work, because sometimes that's just getting the information. Putting in the work is getting the information and going ahead and applying it to your life, not sitting up there telling people you're healed and you need to get on my level to get healed too. But also, another thing I want to say about the logical thinking woman, it's like logic is not the solution, it's the equation. Like, we want, as men, we want to communicate logically. That's the equation. We both can all talk logically. That don't mean I'm right because I'm speaking logic. There's got to be some right, some truth, some empirical truths in that logic, not based on how I feel the logic feels to me or how I feel it looks like or nothing like that. So just because a woman can speak logically, that doesn't mean that she's right. Just because I speak logically don't mean that I'm right. That's just the means to get to the solution. That's the equation.
Hold up. Okay, wait a minute.
Y'all don't even go in y'all job.
Wait a minute. Wait. Okay, what did you say, Ron? I'm sorry.
Sam asked a question, but I don't know that he answered his own question. You said men don't want to argue or something with women logically because, and then you kind of got, so you said the way they talk, the way that they talk with men. So what is the difference between having a logical, and to me, logical in this sense, in this respect is being rational. That's where I feel the logic ties to. So why would a man avoid or not desire to have a rational conversation with a woman as he would with a man? I didn't quite hear the rationale to that.
Well, I gave an example. The reason why is this.
Because all conversations don't lead to a woman being in a man's face and wanting to fight and all that stuff. I think that's true. Was kind of far left, but
no, let's not act like that don't happen a lot. But that's fine though. But we could take that off the table. The reason why that is because let's say if I'm having a logical conversation with one of the gentlemen, right, and it gets to a level because we're not seeing eye to eye because of whatever the level of disrespect is, right? We both know that we should just walk away. We both know that, unless one is just going to be hyper masculine and then it becomes a fight, right? It becomes a fight. So men avoid that because the low level threat of violence, they already know it's there. Now, when it comes to a man and a woman don't have that low level threat of violence. She's going to emote how she feels. She's going to say how she feels. How many times have men listened to a woman and she say the same thing 3 or 4 times and we get it, right? And then you still want to get your point across so much. And I'm not saying all, I'm talking about 68.2, the majority. How many times have that been pushed on you and you're not even hearing what I'm saying? So then it becomes a competition because now the man is like, look, I've heard what you said, but are you hearing what I'm saying? And you just want to be validated in your feelings.
Wait. So this goes back to because this goes back to the point of today. We can't run past it. What you are talking about right now is us speaking 2 different languages. So you're saying, I got you. So you're saying, okay, I got you. I heard you. What she's questioning inside of herself is, did you really hear me? I don't believe you understand my language. And maybe that's based off past experience, past conversations. Maybe it's just some of your facial expressions. Maybe it's your body language. But there's something that's giving her the feeling that, nah, you saying you understand me, but I don't think you really do. But I just want to pause you right there. Drew, you left a comment on YouTube. And for those of you that are on YouTube, I see a bunch of you. Give us a like or a thumbs up, push the algorithm for us. But you said logic is the equation.
So
talk to us.
I'm sorry, that's what I think I heard Sam state. And if I interpret that the way that I interpret it, logic is the equation, meaning we're going to use some type of equation to get to a solution. That means that there is a problem that requires logic. What Robert G. Hawkins talked about previously, and I forget which point he says, if we're really talking about logic, logic actually does not react to the problem. Logic actually thinks about things before so that the problem is either minimized or does not happen. That's what logic does. But what we're talking about, what I'm hearing is a different level of, or two different types of communication. There's a logical communication. There is a emotional communication. Neither one are getting to the equation. Both want to be heard. And for the logical person, this man who says that I was born logical. Women, you were not born that way. You were born a different way. I was born logical. Well, I had to figure out what logic was. I was not born logical. I had to figure out that 1 + 1 = 2 in this specific equation, because my father said, that doesn't make sense. Does that make sense to you? And he drilled into me how to make sense. That became my word or my reasoning for logical, linear thinking, getting straight to the point. So when I'm listening to emotion with my logical brain, I'm not hearing her. I'm waiting till she finishes so that we can get to my logical fix. And that's what she keeps saying. Dude, if we're fixing this, why do we have to keep having this conversation? Why do you have to keep forgiving me? Why do you have to keep putting me in this safe space? Because if you can actually logically talk about what's really going on, then you wouldn't have a low-level threat of violence present, because two logical minds are talking.
Just how do we stop the fighting? Listen, we got to hear from Ms. Chandra. Now, there's a comment that I want to read, and if you have any thoughts outside of this, feel free to address them. But there's a comment, and I would love for you specifically to address these two comments. So, Robert Hawkins, first comment, he said, I'm going to say this, with my current woman, we have established already, when the conversation goes left, we part ways. Help her understand you respect everything she is saying. You are listening to everything she is saying. The energy is not right for the communication to bear unified fruit. But all this has to be established before an argument ever starts. And then the second conversation, or the second comment, here's how you dispel a lot of disunity, even in arguments. Reassure the person every day that we are a team. Reassure the person often as possible. I respect you. I love you. I'm always open to your thoughts and opinions. Therefore, you know, I have no ill will towards you ever. And so that's talking about tools, like solutions. How do we improve this communication issue that's tearing our homes apart, that's disrupting our families, tearing down our community? How do we do that? And a part of what he said is recognizing in the moment that, wait a minute, we're going down a path that isn't productive. We're not going to bear any fruit from this. Maybe we should move on. Maybe we should do something different.
Real quick, see, a lot of things we were saying have had the words can, can't, should, and shouldn't in it, and all those are all those are possibility words. And we're talking about a lot of people who are on this podcast who have dealt with realities, not possibility words. We know but we're dealing with our realities.
So we're talking about the tools. We're talking about the tools. And then this goes back to, like, do you actually have a soul connection with this person? Do you love them enough to work through it? Because what he said is part of it is the reassurance before there's ever a miscommunication that there's real love here. And so if we ever do hit a point where there's miscommunication, let's understand that we both love each other and that's where it's coming from. That way I can listen to your language a little more intently and get the true meaning, so that we're talking about the same thing, we're on the same page, and we can have a productive conversation. So Chandra, like, you have the floor. Like, what are some tools? How do we prevent this miscommunication? What do we do from the professional herself?
All the pressure. Listen, it's so much was said, and I'm just over here, like, just in my chair, just like, Oh, help me, God. Uh, but so much was said. This is good conversation, but I'm gonna just say this all real quick, and I'm gonna get to your thing. But first of all, just like we said, you cannot not communicate. You cannot not have emotion. Shut down. That's from an emotion. Uh, Getting quiet, all of that. That's an emotion. You're gonna have emotion. So just like for me, in my experience, I'm not gonna say this is for everybody because it's gonna make somebody mad. I know it is, but men who my experience is men who have said that women are emotional is to it degrades what a woman is saying, so they don't have to give as much value to it, and because then they want to elevate the fact that they believe that they're the logical creature at all times. And I've had some situationships with some very emotional men, because they don't want to deal with certain things, and they don't know how to use that emotion, so they use it in an abusive manner. So just because it doesn't come out in tears and yelling and screaming doesn't mean it doesn't come out. So men are just as emotional. It's just how they show it shows up different. And also, I do have men who come to therapy, so I do know that there are men out there who's trying to do the work, and want to do the work, want to do something different, and I appreciate them allowing me to walk with them through that journey. Now, as far as just sitting down in the therapist room and just them saying you're healed, go about your business. No. I don't know. I can only speak from my practice, but you see me, you get homework. You see me, you get tools. You got things you got to go work on, which leads me to this part. The last comments that you put up there, he said something about you don't work it out in the middle of an argument. We cannot work out an argument in the middle of an argument. What we can do is in those times when we like each other, because let's be honest, even if I love you, I may not like you all the time. You're gonna get on my nerves. I might not want to talk to you at all times. So in a moment where I like you, we may need to have a conversation of how I can help you feel heard when we're having these moments. How do you know that I hear you? How do I know that you hear me? Like, what do we need from each other in those moments? What are safe ways for us to have heated discussions or arguments or whatever? What does that look like? Do we need to walk away, but set a time to come back? The thing is, some people will walk away from these things and never come back, and stuff will just boil under the surface, and it'll get swept under the carpet. But that carpet creates a lump that we keep tripping off of, but nobody wants to tear the carpet up and do the work that's underneath in the dirt. So you got to set a time to come back to those things, but you establish what it looks like for you all to make it through those times. If you're going to talk, then I'm going to repeat back to you what you said until you say, okay, you believe I got it. And then you do the same thing, because you got to slow that thing down sometimes. Sometimes we have to slow our communication down. We have to be intentional. We have to sit at a table and intentionally say, I'm going to listen, and I'm going to listen not to respond, but listen to understand on both sides. Because yes, you communicate different from me, and I communicate different from you. But what is our agreement? How are we going to handle this? And how are we going to utilize what we just talked about in the future? Like, how will that show up? And so we got to make sure that we have those ramifications when we have those type of discussions, and that we are giving space. If I am emotional, let me be emotional. I tell people, yes, I'm dramatic. My friends know I'm dramatic. I'm dramatic because God is dramatic with me. So there we go. So you're gonna get some things from me. Okay, I'm not even gonna lie about it. But give me space to do that, and I'll give you space to do what you need to do, and then we can balance that out however it works in our relationship.
Yes. There was an example of this, and I'm going to. There's a couple comments. One very specific from Amber Lucretia. So if you're on, stay tuned, because I'm gonna come back to that. But listen, last week I was watching the replay, so I can kind of get myself up to speed. And there was a point where Brother Mike, he was talking about, he used the word predator. Right now, in his language, predator meant one thing. In Sam's language, it meant something else. And so there was this conversation that was going on, but they were talking about two completely different things. And so one thing that I found to be a good tool is whenever there's a word that's used that can be interpreted in more than one way, stopping the conversation and saying, can you explain to me what you mean by that exact word, like that specific word? There's nothing wrong with slowing it down, as Kendra said. Another thing that I found to be helpful is a physical touch. And so if it's two people that love each other, let's preface that. But if we're about to have an uncomfortable conversation, sometimes that touch can be just a nice reminder of who I'm talking to. Like, this is somebody that I love, this is somebody that I care about. And so if we're able to hold hands in the midst of an uncomfortable conversation, I notice that even for myself, I will slow down. I'll be more intentional with my words. There's eye contact. And so that physicality, that physical touch, that can be a big game changer in an uncomfortable situation if you love each other. So real quick, let me go here. Amber Lucretia, she said, can Sam Black please answer my question? That almost sounds, I'm just saying it like that. She probably didn't say it in that tone, but I'm just trying to gas it up or whatever. But that's how it sounds in these conversations we talking about, like, wait a minute, we over here, but hey, can you please answer my question back there? So let me pull up the question and you can address that, bro. So let's see. And Amber, if this is not the question you're talking about, just drop it in the comment section. I'm looking at it right now. But it says, why is there a need to speak to the people on the curve? So when you were talking about the 68.2% versus speaking to life experiences, it should be common to speak to only what you know or have experienced, not towards most people. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, or if there was a different comment that you wanted, but please respond.
I'll answer that question, but I think the question she was asking was about what did it look like for my father to show love in the household. I think that was the question.
Oh, okay, I missed that. Let me get that up. Okay, go ahead.
But about the 68.2, this is why I talk about the majority, because sure, we can talk about anecdotal situations where, well, I don't do that and my friends don't do that. Well, the world ain't your friends. The world ain't you. Like, I'm talking, like, if people come to me and talk to me and they say, hey, I'm going through this, I'm not basing it off of what I go through. I'm basing it off what I know is common knowledge from other people's experiences, things that have been researched, tried and true. There's nothing new under the sun. So it's not like we got to reinvent the wheel. And then if I can relate somewhere personally, then I might share a personal experience. So when I speak, I try to speak from a general standpoint where most people that's watching the podcast, this may hit them more likely than those anecdotal situations. Now, if we want to talk about specifically those anecdotal situations, then yeah, we could do that. And I can also talk about personal experiences as well. And those are going to vary. Now, as far as what about my father, what he showed me was, and y'all gonna hate this, but gender roles. Same. Like when me and my sister were born, we weren't blank canvases, and I was conditioned to do rough stuff and tumbling, and she started, and they trained her to be like social, like more caring, and she wanted baby dolls and I wanted G.I. Joes. It wasn't like we were conditioned for that. We are born different, and I got treated different than my sister. It's only nowadays in this egalitarian society that everybody wants to have this equal partner, this same thing. And what I do know is, and if you follow God's order, it's God, man, woman, child. There's an order for a reason. God does not prioritize his emotions over logic. I did not say he doesn't have emotion. I'm saying it's not prioritized. Let me give you a tangible example between men and women in an argument. The reason why the man don't want to argue and go back and forth is because when you're talking to him, and this happens to both men and women, it goes into the brain, it hits the amygdala. Your amygdala keeps you alive. That's where your fight, flight, or freeze is in there. So if there's a gunman shooting and there's children and women and people scrambling, men and some of them, not all, will go and try to protect the women and children. You ain't gonna see women jumping in front of men. You ain't gonna see, you gonna see him jumping in front of kids because there's a natural order of things. Now, when we start trying to rearrange the order and put the child before nothing, nobody's above my child, then it's me, and then it's the man underneath that, it ain't gonna work because it's out of order. The logic has to be at the top. You do filter the emotion. I'm not saying as a man you don't validate the emotion, because then you would be half of a man, so to speak, because you're only prioritizing just the logic. You want to handle the logic, but then you also want to validate the emotion. So then that way they're complemented. You can't do one without the other. That's why there's so much discord, because everybody trying to stand on business. I mean, like, I'm logical too. And I seen hella emotional men. Yeah, because y'all telling men to prioritize their emotion over their logic, which is not their proclivity. Now, my
Hey
father
man, listen,
told me,
hey, Sam, can I
I'm
borrow
sorry,
your thesaurus?
what? Oh, proclivity? Proclivity
No, it
is
was
your
a couple
natural
of them in
nature.
there, man. You threw some words out there. I was like, wait a
Well,
minute.
yeah, proclivity is like your natural nature, like
No,
what
I
you would
know,
do
bro.
by
I know.
default.
I'm
No,
messing
I
with you,
know
man.
you
I'm
know, but
messing
I'm
with you.
just saying, just in general. And
I just
so what my dad showed me is,
Mhm.
yeah, I have emotions, but I have to handle my emotions in a certain way. Yes, son, you cannot emote or have show your or display your emotions in the same way your sister does. I don't care if you think it's fair or not. We had a lifelong battle about that. If y'all, as y'all can see, I'm an emotional person, but I'm more prioritized with my logic. I just feel both of them at the same time. And this is what it looks like for me.
Sam.
Look. Now I don't ask a whole lot of stuff. I don't ask a whole lot of stuff, and it was too far up in the comments for me to pull it up. And Amber Lucretia, she always supports the cause. And so, Elevating Men, for those of you who are unfamiliar, we are a 501c3 organization. Our goal is to improve the lives of men, to make them happy, healthy, healed, so they can live productive lives, build better families, so we can have better communities. And so, if you resonate with that cause, you can send us stars on Facebook. You can also go to our website, elevatingmen.org. That's scrolling at the bottom. Support us so that we can support more of the men in our community. So she said, let me understand, real love in your home was gender roles. And if so, how was that output from you now as a man? Do you show your woman love through just taking out the trash, so to speak? I know you can respond to that, but I'm just going to kind of like put my own little thing out there as far as a question to the panel and to the audience. And Rhonda, I want to hear from you because you dropped a few comments in there. So I definitely want you to be able to express your thoughts. But is that part of how we show love? Is through gender roles, or is that just part of the responsibilities that we see? You know, hey, you're bigger, you're stronger, go cut the grass. But when a man goes and cuts that grass, is that actually him showing you love, and do you receive it that way? Drop your thoughts on that in the comment section, and we'll kind of get to that. But Rhonda, you dropped a couple in there. I don't know which one you want to elaborate on, but what are your thoughts right now?
I only have one question for Sam so far, and that was the last thing that Sam said. He said, you can see that I'm an emotional person. I'm just choosing to prioritize my logic. So I really, really am trying to process this statistic. I promise I am. I'm really, I want it, because I really want to understand it. So my question around that was just going to be, then where did the emotional person come from? If you're prioritizing your logic, like, then were you born with the logic, or were you born with the emotion? I'm just trying to process this whole thing, because I really want to understand it. I just wanted to hit on two things. And AL, you talked about the whole physical touch thing. I just thoroughly agreed with that. I feel like you can get a long way during even a challenging conversation, just by leaning over and touching the other person on the leg or on the arm while you speak, to soften up the conversation that you're having, if that person is receptive to that. I think that can go a long way. I think that even words of endearment can help in communication. So those two to me just go hand in hand. And then one of the other things when we talked about like a woman repeating herself and things of that nature, I think that it helps in communication when you find agreement. That was one of the comments I put, to find agreement along the way. So the conversation might be challenging. You might be holistically disagreeing. But if you can find little mile markers, little benchmarks along the way where you can find agreement and then stick a pin in that agreement, at least we agree to this point. Now, can we go to the next thing? Then find agreement in the next stage versus trying to get everything out all at one time and find one big agreement. If you can just find agreement along the way, to me, that tends to help the challenging conversation.
I love it. I love it. Gary Newsom, he said, this is Jennifer. What's up, Jenny? What's going on? She says, we as women continue to repeat ourselves until we hear the exact words we want to hear from our man instead of truly listening and receiving what he has said. And again, I still feel like that's the whole point of this conversation, is to really understand that as men, as women, even as men dealing with men as friends and women dealing with women as friends, we all speak different languages. And so how can we better seek to understand each other's language? How can we do that?
Chandra,
I think we have to be. Go ahead.
Is there anywhere documented where that holding hands before a conversation, where that came from, why that came from, and when that came from?
You're asking me if it's documented?
Yes,
I haven't personally seen it. I do know that some people use it, but I also know that for some people that's agitating and it's kind of sitting. So you have to know your partner enough, because if physical touch is not their love language and you're touching them during that time, it can kind of add to the fire a little bit more than help. So you just got to know your partner and what their love language is and give that to them during that time. Like, knowing a person's love language really comes in handy during times of arguments and disagreements. Because when y'all cool, you know. But if you need consideration, if you need me to touch you, if you need me to talk to you in certain ways or whatever, like, that's when what I need from you has to show up when we're arguing, to create that space for me to give you all I got at that moment, right? Or for both people to feel like they're open enough to do it. So I necessarily can't say that I've seen that. Now, other people may have read it in books. I'm sure it's probably in books and stuff, but I haven't necessarily seen that. But I can understand why that can be effective. But you have to know your partner to make that an effective.
And so I missed a question. Maylene Sanders, she asked the title of the book that I'm reading right now. This is it, All About Love. Really good book. I'm almost through it. It's by Bell Hooks. She's got a series on everything about love, and this is just one of them. But this is the book that I was reading from. And then I got to go back to this because I still feel like this is the main issue that we face between men and women today. A soul connection is a resonance between two people who respond to the essential beauty of each other's individual natures behind their facades, and who connect on a deeper level. And who connect on a deeper level. And so it goes back to what you were saying, Chandra. Sometimes maybe physical touch isn't it, but maybe it is. But have you connected on a deep enough level to even know?
See, put Rihanna's comment up there. Is that a physical shutdown? Is that a form of shutdown?
Is it a form of shutdown? It depends on how that person communicates. So is that a form of shutdown where they want to be touched when you good, but when you mad, don't touch me, just curious? It can be, but a lot of things are a form of shutdown. I can be arguing with you, totally engaged, and shutting down because I'm not listening to you. You know what I mean? I think we take engagement as engagement, and that's not always what it is, because I could overtalk you and be shutting down at the same time. I know that's kind of weird, but this is where I'm like, I can't generalize that for everybody. Now, if you shut down and don't ever want to come back to it, just don't want to discuss it, that's a clear shutdown for everybody. But how you act in the conversation, as long as you're still present And as long as you're still willing to have the communication and talk things out, then then I can't necessarily say that shutdown. It's just maybe you need your space in the moment to think and to connect with that person and to talk to the person. I think we just get so used to how we want people to communicate to us that we get offended if they don't do it the way we want it done.
You just got to say something. You got the way that we want people to communicate to us.
Yeah.
Those are two different types of communication. How I want you to communicate to me. And the reason that I asked that question about the touch, I believe, I don't know, but I believe, because it was very effective with me, meaning I believe that it was initiated for a woman to want to reach out and hold a man's hands. And if it was not suggested to the woman, it was suggested by someone to the man to reach out and connect with her so that he would feel exactly who he's talking to. So he would feel exactly who he's talking to when they have good times. This is the woman that you touch passionately. This is the woman that you say you love. This is what you are touching. So if that conversation starts to get outside of your box, or if she's not talking the way you want her to talk to you, I need you to understand where your dangers could go if you forget who you're talking to. If you
the other part of that, though,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but the other part of that, and I'm just playing little devil's advocate with that, is that it could also cause you not to say everything that you need to say because you're in protective mode. You go into a protective mode, which you do want to protect your partner in those, but you still need to say what needs to be said. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes because I'm scared of how you will react and we're touching and I'm constantly reminded this is what I have to lose, then I may not say everything that needs, you know what I'm saying?
I like that play. I like that devil's advocate play. I think that,
and see, that's kind of how I took Ryanda's question, meaning, are we really addressing the problem? Because if you can touch me when we're good, but you cannot touch me when we're not good, there's a bigger problem that we're not even talking about, even in this moment.
Here's a simple solution for that. Here's a super simple solution for that. Right. In the moment is probably the first time you're doing it is in the moment, that's probably like the wrong time to do it because you're already in your state. Here's an example. And I got this from Judge Lynn Toller. When she wanted to talk to her husband, right? That's something that was really on her heart that she wanted to express to him. She would go to him and be like, baby. She would like rub his back or hold his hand. This is before the arguments start because, women like to say, we got to talk. Automatically, the man's mind is going left. Was she in my phone? Did I take the garbage out? Did I forget our anniversary? Men mind going all over the place. So when you do touch a person, we're humans. We love hugging. We love to, and I get it. I'm not talking about all. I'm talking about most people like to have that embrace. For women, for men, coming from a woman, if she's touching me, then that means I have some level of acceptance from her, and my wall isn't all over the place or up from the beginning from when you're saying, hey, we got to talk. Now, from a woman, if I'm barking at her and I go to reach to touch her, she's going to jump. Because we know why? Because we're different. We're different. No different than, bruh, you read the book, Love and Respect. When a woman says, I have nothing to wear, that means she don't have nothing new to wear or whatever. When a man say, I have nothing to wear, that means it's dirty or he really ain't got nothing to wear. You know what I'm saying? So the thing about it is we got to stop trying to make everything what that means for me mean for you. And then talk to me in the way I want to be talked to and all that. Get out of yourself. The point of the relationship is not what I can take, it's what I can give.
Hey, there you go. Look, but you said a mouthful right there. Get out of yourself. And I think that's what we all need to do. And that's really the key to communication, is to communicate for the other person and not for yourself. You have your goal in mind. but you really have to communicate for the understanding of the other person. Like they say in public speaking, don't speak above a fifth grade level, right? Because is it about you and you hearing yourself, or is it about the other person hearing you? And so effective communication, you have to get outside of yourself. The other thing that I heard was that preventative maintenance, I'll call it that, during the good times, why don't you have the conversations then? Which is okay, listen, like we did have a situation, we overcame that, we used physical touch, we used whatever other tools we have in our bag, but now that everything is okay, and we revisit what happened so that the next time we can approach it differently. And so I believe that a lot of times during the good times, we want to keep it there, but sometimes it's wise to step back, pull back, look in the rearview mirror, back up a little bit, and tighten that up before it happens again. That's my thought. But listen, go ahead, Drew.
Chandra made a comment. I think a big unk said, wrote somewhere, people are never really healed, or something like that, something similar to that. And I think Chandra agreed to that. I just have a problem with that. Get over
Not
yourself.
completely.
Yeah. Not completely. Yeah. Get over yourself. What if I'm still getting, what if I haven't gotten to that point where my button has pushed that I even knew what I needed to get over, which is now what I'm hiding from, what you're trying to create this safe space for me, but you want me to get over it. And I just recognized it. I haven't even gone through it. I haven't even processed it. Help me, help.
Do you know what?
Partners
Do you
in
know?
life, though, we don't. I think the goal isn't to have somebody who is completely whole. Can I walk through life with you? Because we always evolving, we always changing. It's always gonna be something that pops up. Like, can you hold me in those moments? And can you, if I say I need help, can you be the person to help me through that? I mean, Sam mentioned it earlier. If you want to bounce off walls, baby, I'm gonna let you bounce off walls, and I'm gonna bounce with you, and we're gonna try to get this together, and we're gonna work together. I think the problem comes is that when your trauma begins to offend me, and I shut down because now I'm offended because of what you go through, versus I jump in it with you. It's two totally different things, and I think that's what we got to look for when we're getting these relationships and these partnerships. Who works with you? Like, who can handle you in your good, in your bad, and in your growing and in your learning? Because we always are going to be doing that.
I want to say for better or for worse.
Or how
I'm
we're
not saying that.
communicating as a whole.
I'm not saying
Wait
that.
a minute, wait. Oh, Chandra, what?
Nope.
She said she ain't saying that. For better or
I
for
can
what?
do for richer, for poor, and I can do it sickness and health. I'm not doing for better, for worse. Because
Yeah,
your
well, that's
worst
not
and
love.
my worst, I don't know it for better in my vows when I have
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
Because I don't know what worse looks like.
yeah. Well,
In all honesty, and it could be unsafe, it could be abusive, it could be a whole lot of things, if I'm being honest. And I'm not gonna stay through all that. I don't work too hard for my peace, and I don't work too hard to get into this space to let somebody be abusive in that space. You know what I mean? So I don't know what the worst looks like. And now I'm ready to. I will walk through the mud with my partner. I have walked through the mud with my partners. And I will be a big support. I don't know what worse looks like. Now that's just it. Don't assign that to Soul Mind. Don't assign that to none of the therapeutic stuff or whatever. That's Chandra stuff right there.
yeah, absolutely.
So there we go with that. Yeah.
But
Hey, well, you ain't by yourself. Amber said, better or worse need to be rethought. I ain't staying there either, Chandra. Listen, look, that's why people making their own vows now. So I'm gonna assume that are you married?
Who, me?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean. Yeah.
No. You know.
Okay. I was gonna say, okay. No, all I was gonna say is I see more and more people are creating their own vows, and so I'm gonna assume that you're in that camp. We ain't doing no traditional vows. It's we got to rewrite that.
For better, for worse, like I said, because and I know everybody ain't gonna agree with that, but that is Chandra.
Yo,
And I know
wow.
we're on a big platform, so don't sign into the therapeutic. If y'all want to walk through worse, I'm gonna help y'all walk through worse. And I'm gonna,
How?
Mm.
y'all
You
gonna be
don't even
glad.
want to do it.
Speaking of platforms,
Listen, because it ain't about me. What
oh,
other people's goals are ain't about me. I'm not a
So
therapist because I want you to
what's
live
the
like I want you to live.
what's the benefit to work going through worse with a person? What's the benefit? If I was to come to you and I said I want to go through better and worse with my girl, and I say what's the benefit of doing that? What would you say?
Love.
Benefit is that your love can go stronger if depending on what the worst is. I will never tell somebody to sit through an abusive marriage.
No, no, I don't want to
So
go.
that's
Let's
what
not
I'm
go
saying.
that extreme. Let's not go that
No,
extreme
that's
because
what I'm
I
saying. For
get
me, worse can be extreme. That's what I'm saying. You're trying to keep me in at 68.2.
no,
Appreciate
I'm
that
not.
about you.
No,
But
I'm
I'm
not.
saying on the other end of that, if it goes to the extreme, I'm not gonna stay for the extreme because this in that part, it's no
No,
benefit in it.
no.
That's what I
mm.
was
What
saying.
I'm
You gotta
saying is
separate me from that.
So
no.
real quick, I guess because we're talking about the vows, who is married on the panel? Is anybody? I think everybody.
I'm not married.
Nobody's married.
I'm not
Hope to
married.
be married. Hoping to be married.
Yeah,
Hope to
I'm
be
gonna be
married
married.
soon. Yes, there we go. There we go. Um,
I was married to answer the question, and I have been widowed for 11 years now and dating for about 4.
mm, mm. Sorry for your loss. Sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
Um, man, listen, like, y'all, we could talk about this all night. We could definitely talk about this all night because there's just so much to unpack, so much good information. Um,
You
I
see what
learned some
y'all
stuff.
started, Rayonda and Chandra?
Man, no, like I learned a lot.
I'm sorry.
Uh, so I mean, if you're watching right now,
Oh, Sam did it.
look, if you got something out of this conversation, give us a like or a thumb. I'm looking at it right now, but just like give us a little support, give us a little love. If you enjoyed the conversation, if you learned anything, you got anything out of it, give us a like, a heart, anything like that. But he mentioned other platforms. So I want you all to know that this is not only streaming on Facebook, we're also streaming on YouTube. If you want to follow us there, you can go to Elevating Men, just search Elevating Men, we'll pop right up. Follow us because we don't want you to miss anything along the way. Also, you can catch us on Roku. Um, Roku and Amazon Prime on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time on Pod TV. So check out the Pod TV network. Search Elevating Men Saturdays at 3 p.m. These conversations are so important, and this isn't just for clicks. There was something that Sam said last week. He was like, it's important for us to come together, and it's not just about clicks. This is not just about clicks. Like, this is extremely important for us to have these conversations because unless we open our eyes and our hearts and we understand each other as men and women, we can never build the strong relationships that build strong families, that build strong communities. And so that's why we do all of this. We work from the inside out. And so communication is key. We've got to figure out this communication thing. I believe all of you brought a lot of good thoughts, opinions to the table. You guys in the comment section, you kept us going. And so I appreciate that. But before we close it out, I definitely want to get everybody's last thoughts, final words. And when you do that, if you could just shout out your business, I would appreciate it. So I'm going to start with Chandra, because you've never been on before. What are your final thoughts? Anything you want to leave the people with? And tell them a little bit about your business.
This has been great. This has been a good conversation. Thank you for opening up space for us to have this conversation. I think things like this help us grow together because society does try to tear us apart so many times, even as a people. So it's important. And if to leave you out with something, for those who want relationships and seek relationships, communication is always key. But give them space to communicate how they need to communicate. And learn to grow with your person, not against your person, right? So business is Soul Mind LLC. Like I said, we do provide therapy. I have myself and other therapists on my team as well, and we work with individuals. We work with businesses, leadership coaching, trauma education, trauma leadership training and coaching, DEIA work, capacity building within businesses and organizations. So we do contracts for those as well. Look at our website. We got a conference coming up. I'm not going to get all into it right now, but check it out. If you're a mental health professional, a Black mental health professional, it's a conference for us. So, yeah, that's the real quick down and dirty about it all.
All right, all right, all right. And as you can see, her website is right there on the screen. So make sure you drop by, give it a visit. Is there an email list or anything they can subscribe to when they hit the website?
If they want to be added for content, they can contact me. There's a contact me piece on there. They can do that and we can stay in touch. So
Perfect, perfect. Miss Ryanda Hall. Look, she comes with the questions. Look, that's what I'm gonna start doing. Like, if y'all been watching this, you know, I try to ask good questions, but now I feel like every show I need to reach out to Ryanda and get a couple questions because she be coming with them. So, Miss Hall, you have the floor.
Cool. Thank you again for having me. This was not only educational, but it's also all in good fun too. I think if any, for me personally, there's a lot of stuff that I don't even like to talk about or quote unquote have what even appears to be, you know, debates and topics out in the world right now. But I think relationships is very important, an important thing for us to talk about. So, so anyway, my closing thought or would just be that at the end of the day, when it comes to communication, it is to me all about treating others how you want to be treated and speaking to others how you want to be spoken to. And so while we do need to have, you know, patience and that we don't all communicate the same way, at the end of the day, it is about respect and it is about love in your communication, watching your mouth, watching what you say. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Making sure that that what's in your heart don't come out at the wrong time. It's all about saying, just about thinking before you speak. That will help your communication go a long way. But thank you again for having me. Again, I'm Rhonda Hall, owner of OCD Financial, an accounting firm that works with businesses and individual households. And so I do all things money, I like to say, working with businesses on their accounting system setup, as well as money management, budgeting, and credit on the personal side. Especially when it comes to couples, money management is important. Budgeting is important together. We know that money and finances is one of the top, if not the number one reason for divorce. Mr. Sam probably has a bell curve and statistic on on what that number is, but we know money causes problems in the household, and it can lead to a real lack of communication. So that is what I do. www.ocdfinancial.com is where you can find me.
Love it, love it. And you see her website right there, ocdfinancial.com. Thank you for joining us. Make sure that you follow that. Sam Black, brother, you have been on for the last 3 weeks, man. You have given us so much value. Tell the people a little bit about yourself, where they can find you, and any final thoughts that you had.
Yeah, you can find me on Talk to Me Delicately on YouTube. You can reach me there or get some content there. I got a couple other pages that talk about different things, but you can catch up with me there. The thing I want to just leave with men, this might not apply to all, for those that it do apply to, that you're going to feel emotion. I mean, they're going to the battle is back and forth whether or not you are emotional or not. You are emotional. The way you process your emotion is different, and it's okay to do that. Now, the question was asked, where did I get that example and what did it look like? What my mom did is my mom showed me how to feel my emotion, and my dad showed me how to process my emotion. So then that way it's imperative for me to prioritize one of the other, being a man. That's just what it was for me. My dad also showed those things that he told me through consistency, through example. I didn't grow up in a household where there was a lot of yelling. I remember clearly, like when I was 8, my mom stopped yelling. And then whenever my dad would be doing whatever he's doing, he would always stop what he's doing and gave undivided attention. And he also validated what was going on. And for some reason, my mom was able to get what she wanted all the time too. I don't know how she did that, but So what I'm saying is I grew up in an environment, so you got to create the environment and you work on yourself so you can create the environment as a man, and then block out all that other stuff that people are telling you what you should be doing until you have a few tools to fix some of those things. But until then, work on yourself, get the tools.
Love it, man. I want to let y'all go. Y'all got me going tonight,
Too.
and it's almost my bedtime. Y'all got, what was that?
I wanted to say that to Sam earlier when he introduced it. So I absolutely love the title. I love your theme. Like, that speaks to me. Talk to me delicately.
There it is. Follow him on YouTube. Talk to me delicately. Sam Black. AB, what you got for us?
Yeah,
I just subscribed. So this right here, and I don't know if it's backwards on you all, but the top 10 reasons why men, and I scratched out men because I could not generalize anymore, and I had to actually go deep into myself, why I refuse to say I love you. And the actual answer to that book is this word right here. I did not know what love was. I knew what I was taught. I knew what many versions of it was. I knew what I knew, and that's all I relied on. And I kept losing. And everybody attached to me was losing also. So I had to start to learn how to be patient, how to be kind, how to be long-suffering, how to keep no record of wrong, and the whole list. I had to learn not only those words, but how to become them. So it took me a long time, and I'm thankful for the people that were graceful with me, who still love me, and who had loved me all along. I just did not know that I was being loved because I did not know what love was.
That is solid. And I'm AL. I'm just here pushing buttons, asking questions. But I want to thank all of you for tuning in. My business outside of this will actually pays the bills and feeds my kids is my life insurance business. So aljohnsonlifeinsurance.com. You can visit that if you have any family members, relatives, if you got questions about life insurance, whether it's term, whole life, IUL, universal life, all of it. I've been doing that for 15 years. It'll be 16 years in January. So I'm definitely equipped to help. I'm a broker. I represent multiple companies. So I shop around for you, make sure you get the best deal, the best bang for your buck. When I'm not doing that, I act as the president of Elevating Men, again, which is a 501c3 organization. So we're not just here talking on YouTube and talking on Facebook. We're actually doing some work in the community. Be looking out for all of our events that are coming next year. It's going to be amazing. For those of you that follow the prayer breakfast that we do every month, we're not going to be doing it for the month of December. We're going to give everyone a break so they can get ready for the holidays, but we will be back in January, so stay tuned for that. But other than that, thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back next Monday, same time, same place, 8 p.m., Facebook and YouTube, Elevating Men. Thank you. Everybody give them a peace out. We will see you next time.